Hey guys, this is Jonathan McCormack. I'm an attachment specialist in New York, and you can find me at attachmenthealinghelp.com. So I'm gonna give a meditation for passion at the end. This is mainly gonna be basic relationship skills. How do you have a relationship if you do have attachment disorders? I'm not a couples counselor. I do parts work like IFS. I do parent figure protocol to people to fix their attachment wounds. But there are some things you can do. They're going to be hard because if you haven't fixed those attachment wounds, you're going to be activated. It's going to be that 3-year-old wounded part that's going to be acting. You're not going to be your adult best self. But a lot of these things I'll talk about increase mentalization. Mentalization increases thinking about your thinking, and there are techniques for that in therapy. But this is good too, and this is basically based off of the first half of a fairly good book by Ruth Cohn, psychologist. She wrote "Coming Home to Passion: Restoring Loving Sexuality in Couples with Histories of Childhood Trauma and Neglect." And neglect, when you hear that word, you should think avoidance. So this is what it all boils down to: empathy. Empathy. An empathy where you're not feeling. Most people think empathy means you're feeling, but just this definition, if you want to call it interest, call it interest. But it's being able to see through your partner's eyes, being able to understand. That's very difficult to do. That's very difficult to do because you're going to be focused on you, especially if you're very anxious. Ruth, she actually talks about this one time she bought her husband a bunch of gifts, I mean, why not? And he gets insulted. And he's like, oh, geez, we didn't discuss this, and on and on and on. And to him, it's like, oh, you just want to control me. You just want to impinge on my privacy. Sounds pretty avoidant, right? Well, you should be empathetic and look at it from his standpoint. But boy, that's difficult when he's mischaracterizing you. He's mischaracterizing your motives. Boy, I bought these presents to show my love. So it's going to be a little difficult. It's not easy. And if you can cultivate curiousness, like, I'm curious, where is that coming from? And you ask him, and it turns out, indeed, his mother would buy all these gifts for him that he didn't want. It was things that she wanted or she wanted for him, and this brought back memories. So they had to, he said, this is the best thing you do for me. Let me pick out my gift. Well, she loves picking out gifts. This is the last thing she wants. But she ends up going for it because she can not agree. She can see it. She can't really understand it. She still thinks it's ridiculous. But she can empathize. And so that's how they did it. That's how they resolved it. That's the empathetic response, And it's hard when the point of view you're being asked to understand involves a gross distortion of your intentions. I get that. The anxious person is going to have to ask themselves, do I have to give up me to have you? That's the big question. Or do I have to give up you to really be myself? This is the question that is in all couples, she says. She says when they show up, this is really what they're asking. They're complaining about the sex. They're complaining about this. They're complaining about that. It's really, how much of me do I have to give up? That's what they want to know. And they want to know, is it possible for us not to give up anything of ourselves and still be together? I mean, being free, especially to avoiding, is precious as life itself. Being stifled, thwarted, squeezed in someone else's mold, that's like living death to an avoidant, And avoidance will go into a relationship dreading that experience, dreading that their mother, that invasiveness will just devour them, will take away their freedom. if you're anxious in a relationship, you are going to be doing most of the work. I know I was like, it's 50-50 and do that. Yeah, I'd love that. Okay, just been in the real world. There's this planet, Earth. It's the one I'm on, and that doesn't happen. The anxious person is going to have to do most of the work. And at first, you're probably going to get resentful. Like, this avoidant person, I'm doing this, I'm bending backwards. Seems like he's not doing much. And that's something you're just going to have to resolve. That it's worth it. It's worth it, Like, here's a question. And you want to be able to answer affirmatively. Is it safe for you guys to talk? To want to know. Some people don't talk at all. But is it safe to? What are the chances that you'll be understood? Or would just be pointless, just too much effort? I've been in those relationships, like, whatever I say is misinterpreted from my standpoint. And then eventually I just say, forget it, why even bring this up? It's not going to resolve anything, This is kind of a controversial point, and she says that. But her point is that whenever there's an activation, it's not according to the situation. It's not about him or her. It's about you and a wounded child experience. I actually like this a lot. There's an unusual way of thinking about things, which is the way I think. And that's that your emotional reactions are not about situations. Because think about it. The exact same thing could happen. He could ignore you or do whatever, and different people react differently. The famous example I give is, this is an attachment study where they told little girls, to say, these little boys are going to ask you to dance, and you just say no. So the first little boy comes in, says, hey, do you want to dance? The girl says no. The second girl, no. Third girl, no. And she goes, okay. Goes on the side, just stands there, looking all over. Second boy comes in, do you want to dance? She says no. Boom, he's just devastated. And he pulls his chair all the way to the end, and he sits down there, and he just weeps. So someone might ask, why is that boy weeping? And most people say, because that little girl rejected him. Because that little girl broke his heart. That's why. No. It had nothing to do with her. Why? Because the other boy got rejected. He didn't act that way. So it was the meaning his mind was giving to that. He got rejected, so what does that mean? That means she's perhaps like someone else, or is not in the mood for dancing. No big deal. But to that little boy, I bet you it meant, if I get rejected for dancing, then I am unlovable. Well, if that's the meaning that your mind is attaching to it, then yeah, that's going to be devastating. It's going to be devastating. So how do you know? Well, it's kind of like if someone steps on your toe, you say like, ow. Okay, your partner ignores you. It's annoying. And maybe a little irritating. But if they step on your toe and your toe is sore from previous wounds, you're going to have a huge reaction, a scream, So your partner ignores you. It's not just irritating. You become obsessed or enraged, And this overreaction, who's reacting? That 8-year-old part of you. And at a certain point, once you really can notice the difference of your parts from yourself that's full of compassion and love, then you can notice that part and say, wait, do I want this 8-year-old part in charge of this relationship? No. And you sweep them back. I even visualize sweeping back these kids, that are kind of popping up, acknowledging them. If you do parts work, you get to that feeling, and boy, you can talk to that part like it's that 8-year-old and say, what's going on? Why are you flipping out? Well, because I'm 8 years old and my mom is yelling at me. Ooh, that's a terrible memory. And you can just listen to that part, unburden it, witness to its pain, give it another emotion, love, understanding. In your imagination, you could bring in the ideal parents, have them give understanding and love, and kind of get that child unstuck from the unconscious, But people hate that. They don't want to believe that. They don't want to believe that. They'd rather believe, they don't want to believe that they're living in the past, you know. So I'm not denying the other partner will say things that are hurtful. I'm saying your reaction. We know what our emotions are, where our emotions coming from. 10% of that emotion is probably coming from them, their actions. I bet you like 80, 90% of the intensity is coming somewhere else. That's just the smoke. Most of the fire is in the past, and that's what you want to fix. In fact, I think it's Harville Hendricks, the guy who started the Imago relationship therapy, and he calls it stepping on my sore toe. Like, listen, you stepped on my toe, so you're to blame for that. But my extreme reaction comes from a previous vulnerability, you know. For couples like that, there's the, some people call it mind reading. Especially if you're anxious attachment. When you grew up, you had to be very hyper vigilant, trying to suss out what your parents' mind was, what they wanted from you, what they were thinking, so you can act correctly. And that's when you're filling in the blanks. You're not certain, so you fill in the blanks. And you translate what wasn't spoken clearly into your own interpretation. And I hear this all the time. Someone says this, what do you think? Me? I have no idea. Maybe he meant X. Maybe he meant Y. Indeed, there's probably 3 or 4 interpretations that would kind of fit, you know? You're going to fill in the blanks if you have any trauma, any negligence. If you have attachment wounds, you are going to fill in the blanks through the lens of that child, you know? So one of the things, if a relationship's going to work out and you have attachment wounds, you cannot assume. Instead of filling in the blanks, you tell your partner what you're feeling. And check the accuracy. You know? I'm feeling very rejected when you didn't text me back. You know, oh, I was very busy, so-and-so. You know, oh, okay. And if you're an avoidant with someone anxious, even if you're secure with someone anxious, talk about your emotions, not just when asked. Often. They need a lot of reassurance, you know. This on steroids, reading someone's mind, is when you hear people say, I know what you're going to say. Like, really? You're having both sides of this conversation, you know. I had a friend who said all the time, I know what you're going to say. And then they would say the most insane thing that I wouldn't have thought in a million years. Like, I know what you're going to say. I'm a terrible human being, and I should be shot. And you knew I was going to say that. That's what you knew I was going to say, really. People suffer from neglect, especially anxious attachment. When they're talking, like, you're going to have to interrupt. You're going to say, talk about you, because they're going to give a brilliant analyzation of their partner. And it's going to be brilliant. I mean, these guys are like Proust. All of a sudden, they have these incredible Freudian insights, and it's amazing. They're dissecting every little thing. I'm like, well, what did you feel? Me? And then all of a sudden, they're like 3 years old. Me happy. Me felt hungry. I mean, the most basic, primitive, or I don't know. That's really a defense. I don't know. It's kind of a part coming say, do not look at there. It is not safe. We are not comfortable. So, if you're anxious, this is one of the practices to stop second-guessing, psychoanalyzing, pontificating the motivations of other. Instead, your behavior is going to say how you feel and get clarification, you know? Because I tell you, avoidance, like, get driven crazy by that. At first, it's very flattering. I hear a loud voice, I'm with this girl, and she gets me. She's asking me about X, asking me about Y, and they like it, you know? But then after a while, they get really annoyed. They're constantly saying, did you mean this? You mean that? I thought you meant this. All this second guessing. That interest is flattering for a minute, but then it becomes very intrusive and inaccurate. Avoidants lose their mind when someone misrepresents them. They take these things to heart because every little act of vulnerability it's just an enormous step for them. I remember I wrote a poem for a girl. I wrote this poem. Here's the poem, girl. And she lost it. And I was like, oh, you lost the poem. I will never reach out to another human being again. Yeah, that's just how it's going to be, you know. Avoidance will kind of just drop things, you know. One chance, you know. And if you're avoidant, that's what you're going to have to deal with. So for the anxious person, here's the rule. Here's just the rule. This is the way things are. When you speculate on your partner's feelings, you get anxious, period. Because however you speculate, it's going to be worrisome. All your speculation is geared to worry. You look at them, that's anxiety. Identifying your own feelings and emotions is inherently calming. Look at them, that's anxiety. Look at me, that's calming. And a lot of our practices are very somatic. I talk about, I do a lot of body scans, and you get in the body, because that's what the emotions are, and you want to be able to feel that. People are very disembodied these days in general, and that's, I think, a big cause of attachment problems. In fact, there's actually research showing that a simple act of naming an emotion quiets the nervous system. It's very difficult, trust me, when I start doing ideal parent figure protocol, saying, what are you feeling? If you're avoiding, you're going to give me an intellectual answer. What am I feeling? Well, it's interesting. I feel the dopamine slowly going over my amygdala, and it's kind of like this experience I once read in a book, going all over the place. And then eventually we're going to get a real feeling, an emotion. It's going to be like happy. How do you feel? Happy or sad? Okay, we got something. And then where do you feel in your body? And as it goes, you're going to get not just happy, but shades of meaning. Because when you feel love, I bet you that's like 10 things that you don't even know. I bet you it's love and adoration and lust and this and that. But it's just all one, because you don't have the emotional literacy. You know, emotional literacy has to be learned. It's something to be ashamed of. It's like, man, when I grew up, my childhood was not a school for emotional literacy. Yeah, that's not what it was. So the other thing is, I really hate needs. I hate any time someone uses needs. I use it because that's all the literature uses. This is a terrible idea, because when the unconscious hears need, it thinks necessary for survival. So if you say, I need a relationship, I need a romantic relationship, when I say necessary survival, I mean the body thinks, the unconscious thinks, this is like oxygen. If I don't get it, I'm ruined. Well, if that's how you're thinking, of course you're going to be pretty anxious and uncomfortable in your body and depressed and feelings of dread. Of course, of course. So instead of talking about needs, you know, these are my needs, I would phrase it in feelings. And Ruth, Cohn, she actually has it too. So instead of, her example, I need the house to be tidy. That's kind of controversial. First of all, you don't need that. That's not a need. Second of all, if you phrase it like that and they don't do it, it's going to really agitate you, because that's something you need. You need that. You need it. Phrase it like this: when the house is tidy, I feel calmer. Yeah, I gotta tell you, if my girl came at me like that and was like, listen, when the house is, I feel calm. Oh, my baby girl needs to feel calm. Let me get right on it. That's very welcoming, you know. It doesn't sound like any blame, any shame. She's not gonna get as upset either, you know. The second one, so two things. Needs versus feelings. You're going to talk about feelings, not needs. Forget about needs. The second one is use questions versus statements. A lot of people use questions that are really statements. So here's how you get someone mad at you. You say, you ask, are you mad at me? Are you mad at me? If they don't get angry, they're at least going to get upset. They're going to be like, oh my God. You're not asking. You're saying, I feel like you're mad at me. I feel something's wrong. That's not a real question. And if that person is not angry, that person will get like, oh, am I angry? It's almost like an accusation. Do not do that question. Instead, her example is this, because she comes up with a good one. Instead of that, you can say, I feel such distance between us. I'm not sure how to read your silence. I'm not sure how to read your serious expression. Oh, and then you kind of come out. Occasionally, avoidant will share with you. An avoidant won't even know he's supposed to. In fact, an avoidant will think, if I share, that's a burden to them. And if they're asking me to, that's not real. It will actually harm them. They think they want that, but they don't. Occasionally, avoidant will open up something. Yeah, I was busy at work today. Let them know you like that. You like that when you shared that thing about work earlier. Like, I like that. I felt close to you. Just let them know and just drop it. You don't ask for it. Finally, for the anxious, you use too many words. Avoidance use too little. Believe me, ask an avoidant question. It could be the most fascinating thing in the world. Like, wow, you're a POW? Yeah. How was that? Bad. Pretty bad. I was like, oh, Lord. And an anxious person, you just say, like, oh, so you stubbed your toe, you said? And oh, Lord, here comes the story. And they're talking about their father. And then they're going back in time. And then their tenses are getting switched. And you can't follow them if you're very, very, anxious. The point is that an avoidant cannot listen to that. It's not just a man-female thing. This is an avoidant thing, specifically. If you're an anxious person, you talk too much, period. There's something called GRICE, G-R-I-C-E, maxims for coherent speech and polite. You can look that up, but there's like 4 things. And one of them is you don't tell too little, you don't talk too much. And believe it or not, how someone's attachment is measured in the AAI, the attachment it is from their sentence structure often. Largely, just from listening to someone speak, you can tell most of the problems. So you just need to get to the point if it's important, right? But I'm not a relationship specialist. I'm not a marriage counselor either. I know plenty about dating. I help people with a couple specific things, getting in relationships, this, that, the other thing. But that's not my main thing. But I like this by Margaret Atwood. She has a poem called Habitation. And she says, and this is her experience, she says, marriage is not a house or even a tent. It is before that and colder. The edge of the forest, the edge of the desert, the unpainted stairs at the back where we squat outside eating popcorn. The edge of the receding glacier, where painfully and with wonder at having survived even this far, we are learning to make fire. I like that image because when I read all this literature about what makes a good marriage and whatnot, it really is just kind of like we're together towards a goal. That picture there, it's like a glacier, and they're huddling next to it, just 2 humans in this cold world, trying to build a fire, just trying to build a fire together, I thought that was very poignant. But you're going to have a lot of problems if one of you has an insecure attachment. You guys ever hear of the 5-to-1 ratio by John Gottman? John Gottman, he's a funny guy. I read all his books. He's great. But he spent 40 years collecting data about like every little thing, meticulously going over it. And one key finding was his 5-to-1. The data revealed that for a relationship to remain stable, not for it to get better, to remain as it is right now, the ratio of positive affects, compliments, gestures to negative ones must be 5-to-1. 5-to-1. For every 1 negative thing you say, you need to say 5 positive things just for it to remain stable. So for every time you look at your girl like this, you gotta, I don't smile, but just imagine a smile. So 5 smiles for every frown. You gonna complain? one complaint is 5 compliments. You know, they failed something, you better acknowledge 5 things they did do. That's for regular folks. I find that very difficult, you know. I mean, in my family, we use sarcasm. I mean, we just, the way we communicate is we just take our knives out and stab each other. And that's what we do. In the most painful, awkward way we can. That does not translate to a relationship. So that's just normal couples. But that's not you. You are watching this, so there's some problem, which means you have to do more than that. You have to do more than 5 to 1. Think about your ratio right now, or your last relationship. The problem is people with insecure attachment, their environment, and they're beautiful people. I love these people. I mean, when I say beautiful, like they have no idea, and you can't tell them, and they would never believe it. When they open up their heart, it's like, holy shit, like, it's an honor. Like, the beauty just of their humanity. And they think, oh, no one will want to share this with me. It's like, oh my Lord, like, you have no idea. But if you do have a problem, you're already going to be bringing negativity and depression and anxiety into it. So that's 5 to 1, someone who doesn't have those issues. That's not you. You're going to be bringing in, and some of that stuff is very beautiful. You know, some of that stuff is very powerful. Having anxiety means you can be more attuned, especially to your children, you know. You might be more knowledgeable of what's happening. You might pick up on signals if you're dismissive. You might have fantastic abilities to go without context. You can accomplish things, you know. There's a lot of positives with this stuff. In fact, Anthony Storr wrote a whole book on solitude. He's like, listen, some people, they're not going to get connected, but that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. You can make that into a strength, you know. So I feel like unwittingly, there's already a lot of negativity in the air, you know. So you're going to have to really ramp up that 5 to 1. How? Well, we all know. Compliments, but especially appreciation. If you're used to hearing good things from your partner about you, you know, like how great my hair is or something, just let's say, if anyone wants to compliment me on the comments, then you're going to get used to that. And occasionally when you do get a gripe, it's not going to be so bad. If you just hear like 10 good things about you, and then at night she goes, and you didn't do this. And then you hear like 5 more good things. Man, it's going to be fine. The more you compliment, here's the thing, the more you compliment, the more you give positivity, the more you get to complain. Yeah, so there's, you know, listen, if you got a lot of things you want to say to your guy, your gal, up the compliments, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and the truth is, and this is devastating, and people hate themselves for this, when you get reminders of your shortcomings, you just feel defeated. You feel very defensive. And you're not inspired to please that other person. And of course, I think we've all done this in relationships. And you realize how critical you are. And that person needed help and need to be built up. But that's not what you did, you know. And you feel bad. That's true. But also, it's a good practice patience on that, you know, because it's kind of a growing process. You can be loved despite not being perfect. I know it's weird. You can be loved despite not being worthy of being loved. Someone can love you anyway, even though you don't deserve it. That can still happen. You don't need to love yourself before you can get into a relationship. Great practice to practice compassion on yourself, to look at things neutrally. But to be in love with yourself, I know what people mean when they say that, but that's really not necessary. In general, there's two ways to appreciate someone: recognition and gratitude. One is just recognizing something they did, not necessarily for you, you know. So recognition, like, you know, if she came home and her day was tough, recognize that. Be like, oh, I really appreciate how hard you work, and I recognize that today was a very difficult day for you. I do. I recognize that. You validate that. And then there's also just appreciating with gratitude. Like, I appreciate you come home every day and whatever, bring money home after that big commute. I just, every once in a while, I just think about that. Like, geez, I got that 2 hour commute, got the 2 hour back. Wow, I do appreciate what you do for this family. I got to tell you though, you can do this. If your partner's not securely attached, sometimes they don't like that. They're like, I really appreciate you. I'm like, what the, appreciate me for what? What do you want? What do you want from me? You know, what's this about? What do you ask for money now? It's amazing how defensive they get. Or they'll feel very uncomfortable, like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of this gratitude. No, not me. That doesn't matter. Keep doing it, even if they don't like it. I know. Because I'm telling you, that actually helps you. It's still cleaning the air. It's still cleaning the environment. So you can go and you'll start feeling better about yourself. Not only that, but if you keep reminding yourself about the good things and appreciating it, you'll remind yourself why you're with this person. Because let's face it, sometimes we're like, why the hell am I even with this person? If humans are negative to begin with, you know, sometimes it helps if you're anxious or to write down all the good things, you know. Boy, you know, I knew a girl who was very anxious and she never knew if her boyfriend loved her. And her shrink had to write down, like, at least once a week, what did he do that would contradict that idea? What did he do that shows you that he does love you, you know? And she would have to do that, make a practice. You have to practice seeing the positives. Okay, what if this, very rare, what if your partner doesn't appreciate you? Yeah, I know. Sometimes that actually happens, so rarity. You can actually appreciate yourself, but like this, not with that alone, with magazines. What I mean is that it's called, like, your wife or your husband's a genius, right? So, you know, you just toot your own horn, basically. You know, she doesn't recognize that you did X, Y, and Z. Huh, boy, you know, but you have to say it without rancor. Like, you have to say this, you're not poking fun at her, like, hey, recognize me. I did this big thing, and you need to, you know, see me. If you're still resentful, don't do this. But you can say, boy, your husband's a genius. He just, boy, he changed the filters on both cars there and did X, Y, and Z. Or, you know, you're sitting there and he don't care. But you're just like, your wife is a genius. She just did X, Y, and Z, and then da-da-da-da. Then we'll go over. That's the most efficient way to get them to appreciate what you're doing for them. That's not I wish that, well, you know, that's going to be the best though. You know, like, this is Earth. We don't have great options. Sometimes you just have to go with your best crappy option, you know, and that's pretty much the best. Ideally, they would notice you, and you wouldn't have to do that. You know, this is like a Disney movie, you know, this ain't. So that's just a way and this, the more you do that though, the more you're actually, you know, some people are like, I'm not going to toot my own horn. That's very egotistical, this, that, the other thing. You're doing this for the relationship. You're not doing this to feel good about yourself. That too. But the main thing you're actually doing is to contribute to the relationship sustainability. You will be combating your own depressive tendency and your partner's, both of you. Just every time, this positive thing, look at me, I did X, Y, I'm a genius, oh, look what a great guy I am. Saying it very playfully, but that's positivity, as long as it's really positive. And you are cleaning the environment, making it more positive, you know. The other thing you can do is actually make out a time to complain. I know this sounds cheesy, but a lot of relationship coaches will do this. You do want to make time to complain. It can be any time. So instead of all this negativity throughout the day, you just choose, like, listen, between X and Y, we're going to come and we're just going to bitch about everything. And you do that. You can do it once a week. What you'll notice is that you are super negative so often because you'll forget and you'll start complaining. Be like, you know what? And then you'll catch yourself. At first, you won't even. Then you'll start catching yourself. And then you start seeing 40% of every time I open my mouth is a complaint. You really notice. This is very metacognitive stuff. But here's the catch. There is a catch. If you complain, you still have to uphold that 5-to-1 ratio. So if you get together for an hour, you can spend 1/5 of that time complaining. And then 4/5 of that time, you need to be giving compliments. This is really important because what this does is this actually, it makes you only share the important complaints, So at first you just want to complain about everything. But then if you complain for 20 minutes straight, you're like, oh my Lord, I have to be here for the next how long? Just telling her how pretty her eyes are. This is ridiculous. No, the one thing that was important is X. And you will really start whittling down all those negative complaints until just the essential ones, And you'll find, a lot of people find, this is what they say anyway, that they find that their negative feelings really weren't that important. They thought they were so important to express, but once you start doing this, you find that this one was. But boy, most of these really weren't. And the climate and the environment in the household will be brightened. And I gotta tell you, it can be like a fun game too, Because it's funny, like you start, oh, you're complaining, you gotta give me 5 compliments now. You can make it kind of like a lover's game, So a lot of people are confused about men and women. Okay, let me just say there's a difference, right? I ain't a scientist, but there's a difference, right? I've noticed, I've done studies, yeah. I've looked at videos mostly, and nothing with a Bunsen burner, but just some casual studies. But when you do look at it, some important differences when it comes to attachment in relationships. And she tells us, so Ruth goes into this, Ruth Cohn goes into this, says, males are vested with the mandate to protect. You know that, back in the day, they need to hunt. They need to survive for men. If they fail their mandate, that may very well, and often did, lead to starvation and their loved ones dying and a massacre. So success wasn't about, look at me, I'm better than everyone because I drive a Honda. You need to respect me. No. That's why we had rituals. Men don't have them today, and they're lost. Women don't need ritual. Women are women when they turn, 12. Boom. They can have a baby, they're a woman. No one says, girl, you need to woman up. Woman up. No. Do you need to man up? Hell yeah. And you need to do that every single day. So when you're young, you get taken away from the world of females in traditional societies, and the mother yells, no, my son, right? You go with the men, and then you pass some crazy tests, like getting tattooed with needles, or being tied to a tree, or going and hunting a boar. I have no idea. But what is that? Why? You have to show you have perseverance. Why? Because you have to produce more than you eat. There are women who are working. They're not hunting. They're doing this, they're doing that. Then there are old people who cannot hunt. And then there are children who don't hunt. And then there are old people and sick people, So if you're eating more than you're catching, people will be starving. You can't do that. Literally, you'll have to be kicked out. And when a man isn't successful, that is what he's feeling. I really feel women don't understand. There's so many things men don't understand about women. But this is like one of the things women really don't understand about men. And that loss of success will strike a man more and more deeper. It is dramatic. And so, the guy comes home and he shares something about a defeat. And, the girl goes, well, tomorrow's another day. No, he's feeling humiliated. He's feeling shamed. He's feeling mocked by that pity. Like, are you serious? Do you not know how important this is? you know? Well, it's not that big of a deal. You have to prove your manhood constantly. Not today, but yeah, back in the day. Are you getting slow? Can you still catch as many monkeys? I don't know. Obviously, I should have researched this more, but with examples. But, and as a man, you're just going to feel like, wow, she just does not get it. A man will feel this is life or death. Life or death. You think I'm exaggerating, and I'm not. Look at the suicide rates. When a man doesn't have a family, right, starts a gang, kills other, puts a needle in his arm. In general, in midlife, estrogen will decrease, and that kind of caretaking impulse with women, we're generalizing, in general, will decline. And that means she's going to think more about her own needs. It used to be great putting others first, and caretaking was a joy, and it was a joy to give herself to that and get in touch with that nurturer. For some, I'm saying, but people like this, when that declines, they start growing in themselves, you know. That pleasure in putting others' interests ahead, it just dries up, you know. And so they more or less have a desire to move out in the world, advance their own interests, their own potentials. You know, the kids are launched. And she often, this happens, you know, oftentimes we'll see tired, bored, being resentful of all these responsibilities. Because she's not, it's like, yeah, I had all these responsibilities, but I was expressing my love, and it was helping. And kids are cute when they're 3, and then less so thereafter. And you'll notice, and then husbands will have no idea what's going on. It's like, why is she acting like this? Nothing's really changed, you know? But she has. She's changed. Men also change. Their testosterone goes low. You know, I mean, guys, believe me, I know everything about. There's a million ways to boost your testosterone. Get rid of sugar. Get rid of carbs. Most carbs, not all. Lift heavy things. Just lift heavy things. Get in the sun. Vitamin D. Do that. And so that's kind of just the basics. That's the basics of a relationship. Like, if you have attachment issues, these are the things you want to do. Further on, I'll do like another video on specifically getting passion back. But here is a meditation for passion, just getting in touch with that passion. People have been emotionally neglected or disassociated from their own passion. Perhaps this will help you. It's only, like 5-10 minutes. So, I would just invite you to get into the meditative posture with your back straight but loose, shoulders back and down, chest up. And now, I'd invite you to just start bringing the awareness into the body, bringing the awareness to dwell in the body, in, and down. Good. And now we can just do a quick body scan. And I would invite you to just focus your awareness on your forehead. And just moving your awareness down your forehead. Notice the tension around your eyes, and just soften your eyes, and have your awareness move into your cheeks, softening your cheeks. Move into your jaw, softening the jaw, lips slightly pursed, jaw loose. Then a wave of warm, loving awareness pouring down your neck, into your shoulders, down your back, down your spine, moving down your torso, down, 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 loose and soft in the belly, opening up, your chest opening up and softening. Loosen the belly, loosen the hips. A wave of warm, loving awareness rolling down your legs, rolling down your calves, all the way down to your feet, firmly planted on the ground, like roots of a tree. Yeah. And now we're going to take one long, deep breath. Take a super deep breath. Hold it below the belly and slowly release. Good. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take a super deep breath. Hold it. And now as you exhale, you're going to move your attention to the lower part of your abdomen below the navel. Yeah. And exhale. And now take a super deep breath, imagining breathing in glowing orange light, and feel it spread into your chest, down your body, into a glowing orange ball right below your navel. And as you breathe in and out, just focus your attention right below your navel at that orange glow. And that orange glow spreads to the rest of your body like ripples on the surface of water. And you feel it like the ebb and flow of gentle waves hitting the shore of your body. And you're standing on a pristine white sand beach. And it's just before dawn. I see the sky is streaked with orange in eager anticipation of the sun's glory. And I'm looking at the sky, and now looking down at the infinite expanse of gentle surf and calm water right in front of us. And you can step forward and just dip your toes into the warm water of the ocean. And just notice how slowly that water approaches. And you step into it, and it laps around your feet. Yeah. And you move forward, and now the waves caress your knees. Now they caress your thighs. And the water is crystal clear, and you can see the white sandy floor under your feet. And you just feel the water lapping at your waist, slapping against your abdomen, nice and calm. And now you dive into the water, and you're swimming effortlessly. And you turn on your back, and you're just floating, weightless as a leaf, gazing at orange sky while your body flows with the wave. And now that orange glowing ball of energy under your navel is spinning, and you notice it's spinning, and it's gaining strength. And as it spins faster, an orange light washes over you like the waves, pervading and penetrating every cell, penetrating every pore in your body. Yeah. And you breathe deeply. And you feel the energy funneling down your spine all the way into that ball of glowing, warm light. notice your body. It's all light, all sensation. Your body in the water, boundaries disappearing. Yeah. And you realize the sea has safely carried you back to the shore. And you start walking out of the water. And as you're walking out of the water, you feel the water dripping down, dripping off your body. And a memory of passion appears in your mind. Doesn't matter whether it was creative, romantic, athletic. Feeling of passion attacks your body. It blooms from your core. And you can just allow that memory to unfurl. And you tune into the emotion of that passion. And you turn up the volume. And you turn up the colors of that passion. And this memory becomes more and more vivid. And you can feel this passion deeply rippling in your body. Where do you notice this passion? This feeling? Yeah. Where does this feeling of passion live in your body? And you're so curious. Yeah. What does it feel like? And then you tune your awareness to the space just below your belly button, a couple inches inward. You notice there's a tiny ember. And this ember begins to infuse with emotions. The emotions you're experiencing as passion. And the passion infuses this ember. And you funnel all this feeling of passion down into this little spark. And as you do, you watch it catch fire until it becomes flame. A flame the size of an orange, gently resting in your lower belly. Feel this passion in this fire. Notice this flaming ball. Is it calm? Is it wild? Does it feel good? And you know it's full of life. And you know your body is full of passion. The way this flame stays still reminds us of how natural, how right this feels. This fiery passion is something we allow to stir without getting out of hand. It's just natural. And you tune into this fire burning deep in your navel. And it feels grounded. It's stable and secured right there within your body. And this flame doesn't even flicker. It's a steady burning with just the right amount of passion for you. And you tap into this passion and you let it nourish you. Yeah. And now you're taking an idea, and you see yourself placing it into the flame. What is this idea? Whatever idea comes to mind. Perhaps it's a limiting belief. Perhaps it's a belief you no longer lead. And as you put it in the flame flickers just for a moment. then grows. And then it's steady again. And you feel the fire and the energy and the new passion. And you notice your breathing in and out. You're breathing in and out. And this passion is spreading up your chest, down your thighs, throughout your entire body. And you have the right amount of passion. And your passion fuels you naturally. And this passion is stable. And this passion is like an old friend in perfect harmony. You listen to this passion. You love this passion. This passion fuels you. It excites you. It motivates you. It motivates you. It moves you to the highest, most loving good. To the highest, most loving ways. And you notice this passion in your body. And as you notice it, you appreciate it. Yeah. And now on your next breath, breathe in extra deep. Filling up your stomach, feeling your rib cage expand. Letting all the passion build within, build to win, hold it. And when you're ready, exhale with a sigh. And this passion retreats back in your body. And you're on the sand, turning away from the water again. And now, having had all the time to make this feeling of passion familiar and part of your identity, you can start coming back. Start coming back, back, back. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Okay, so after this I'm going to do part 2, which is more on attachment specifically. And there'll be like a third part, specifically bringing passion to people who have been emotionally neglected. Again, it's attachmenthealinghelp.com. Anyone wants to work with me, hit me